Welcome, everyone. We are live here in our respective studios. This is Design Unfiltered 11. This is a thing, folks. This is officially a thing. Um, I'm
11.
I know, right?
Wow.
11. This one
Love
goes to
it.
11. Any dorks out there know that reference?
Final tap. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah, good.
Very
So I'm
fun.
Joanne Weaver. I'm here with Erica Fortgang and Jared Tredly, and this is our co-hosted event that we do every other Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern. And it's just getting in the minds of three experienced design recruiters. We're all based in New York, but this advice could be, global, relevant for a global audience. So as everybody's filtering in, why don't you say hi and share where you're from? So just kind of get the chat going. And the chat, we really love the last few design and filters because everybody's doing a lot of crosstalk and giving advice and chatting amongst each other, like all y'all. I got that from you, Erica. Um,
Not something at
Love
all.
that.
yeah. So just get friendly in the chat, and yeah, we'd love to see who's here and where you're calling in from.
Yeah, it's always fun to see where you might be from. What part of South Florida. There you go. Love it. Austin. That's really cool. Yeah, we have noticed a lot of people like connecting through the chat. Maybe designers that didn't know themselves before have also nice hearing Sharon. I said the same thing, Nikki.
Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah.
The scarabs,
Yeah.
symbol of good
Love
luck.
it.
I
Yeah.
love it. Brooklyn, Toronto, Catskills, upstate. There you go.
Awesome.
Another Floridian. Thank you, Paul. Um, so
London.
good. Just outside London. Right on.
Oh,
Chicago. Um,
This makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
F.
I
Yeah.
know.
Love to
I
see
love
this.
it.
Love to see it. I mean, yeah, I was saying that it's so cool to see a lot of people connect with each other through the chat that maybe didn't know each other before. You're all like-minded designers. You're all on this design journey. So these are your peers. These are your people. This is our tribe, hopefully. So
Yes.
yeah, we do love to see a lot of that. And yeah, as Joanne said, our goal is always to share this information with you as recruiters. We get to see hundreds, if not thousands, of portfolios now. We get to work with so many different companies who hire in different and unique ways, but we see how they go about it. We see what they look for, what they're asking for in a designer. How can we take all of that and try to share that back to a community of just empowering you to be a great designer, but to find a role that you're looking for, to connect with design leaders you like, to be a better design leader if you are, whatever it might be. So we get to sit at the center, I think, of that connectedness at times. And this is the chance to maybe share it back out to as broader audience as we can.
Yeah, and just to create positivity too. Like I feel like we all need it. Like this has been a really rough market for the last year and a half. So I think people coming together and just saying like, "Hey, I'm going through some stuff too." And as we discussed in our last Design Unfiltered a couple weeks ago, and if you weren't there, we'll repeat it. There's some good news. The market seems to be picking back up. I like to say cautiously optimistic, but I think all three of us, like we were
Yeah.
chatting yesterday and sharing with each other that we're working on lots of new things and opening up new clients. So when recruiters are busy, that's a good thing. It's a good thing for everybody because it means the market is just generally picking up. Companies are hiring. I haven't seen a lot of massive layoffs in the past couple of months. Have you guys? I just haven't really been seeing that as much.
There's been a
Maybe
couple.
a few.
Yeah, but not, I think that daily news is lighter on that front for sure. Like anything, it can, LinkedIn or the news can be an echo chamber at times. You do get surrounded by certain news, but I would say, yeah, I feel like things are getting busier, but the appetite for hiring is increasing. The need to bring more design into companies is increasing, and that comes in shapes and sizes, permanent opportunities, contract roles, freelance stuff. But that appetite is there of just these companies that we need design help. We need another designer. we need to add a designer, we need our first designer. But there is that demand and that requirement for this skill set that, designers bring. So it's amazing to see that coming again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like to say, like, to people, when you start seeing recruiters, like recruiter roles being opened for internal in-house, there's a lot going on there. That means they have stuff to recruit for. If you start seeing roles on like the marketing team or engineering team, product, kind of, it all eventually gets to design, and then they will need someone to design the products that the salespeople are selling. So that's kind of how I have to keep up on what's happening.
Definitely.
Wow.
And that the VC side of things, you see that a lot in the startups too, when companies are raising money or they've just secured another round of funding. It's usually a good indicator that they need to grow, they need to scale across their whole business, but design is definitely always a part of that too. So that's always exciting too, both replacing old roles, but creation of new roles that, creating whole new opportunities for designers.
Yeah. So I think we're going to keep it pretty unstructured today. So we're going to do our high five questions at the beginning, which is our new thing we started last time. So we'll be fielding you guys some questions just to get a finger on the pulse of what's happening in your worlds and hear how things are going with you and what you think about certain things. We're going to share some success stories and kind of, some loose kind of do's and don'ts, like things that we've seen, designers do well, or maybe they could be doing better in order to land a job, or just to kind of just be happier and more fulfilled out there. And then we'll take questions from all of you. And feel free to just, continue to introduce yourselves, say where you're from, like you guys make this what it is. And, if you think of a question and you just want to put it in the chat, even if we're not talking about it yet or really open for questions, feel free to post them and share your thoughts as we go along. Yeah.
Should we start?
What's our high five? What questions did we want to rip through?
Let's see.
We have some interesting ones, like a little bit more, I don't know what the word is. I can't think of the word, but I guess the first one, which we did last week, is kind of like how you're feeling in the market right now. I know it's only been 2 weeks. For anyone who wasn't here last week, if you could put like an emoji, like your best emoji of how you feel in the market right now, I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah. And that is, feeling optimistic, feeling positive, feeling good about where things are going. Even if you're
tired,
getting exhausted, maybe a bit of that. I think even if you aren't looking for a role, if you are currently in a design role, what's your feeling about that? Is your company embracing design? Does it feel like you have a good path ahead with design being part of that roadmap? Do you see progression for yourself there? I feel like, 12 months ago, as things sort of dipped down a bit, it felt harder to envision what is my progression path at the company, where are things going to go? Like just having the job felt like that was all you could ask for. Whereas before it's like, hey, I have this job and I want to get, I want to progress in my career. So maybe even if you're in a role, I'll share some of these. Let's,
yeah,
here we go. Nice. Thanks, Justin. I feel like that one sums it up a little bit too.
Yes, Henny. Yep.
Yep.
Ross Phillips is hearing no evil.
All right. I love that. Crickets.
Oh, Sergio. Nice.
Oh, he's sweating there. Yep. Paul, I feel you on
Paul,
that.
yep.
Yep. Caffeinated. I'm for that.
Okay. You're ready to rock, Danielle.
Yeah. All right. That's how we describe hiring managers sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
No, a lot of the time.
Oh, Dylan, hello. You're feeling a little turtleish?
Slow.
It's slow.
A little slow.
There you go.
But then we have
I'm not sure.
Busy bee.
We've got a turtle to a bee.
Okay. I love it.
Sandeep, you're confused about Mars.
Yeah.
That's a symbol for Mars.
Okay.
And men.
All right. We got a mix of feelings there, I think. Definitely it feels like we're still a little bit on the we don't know where the market's at. It's feeling a little scary, a little slow, a little tired. Yeah, I can see that. But we are potentially, one thing to keep in mind a little bit, if you can, is 2021 and some of 2022, or most of 22, was the busiest we've ever seen as well. You know, so it's really gone from one extreme to the next. But if you think back a little bit further to maybe 2019, 2018, the market wasn't, you know, it wasn't as crazy as what it was for those couple of years. So when it feels slow, it's like, it's definitely slow in comparison to what we came off of. But I think there is some level of stabilization there too, of getting back to it. I don't think we'll ever see it get back to 2021 and 2022. And in some ways, I think that's a good thing.
I agree.
Never say never, Jared. You never know.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a roller coaster. It is like,
It is a roller coaster, yeah.
I mean,
You do that emoji. I'm not good at it.
Yes.
Is there a roller coaster emoji?
Yeah, there is a roller coaster.
For some perspective, the last time we had such a crappy market was 2008 during the whole housing crisis and loans.
Yep.
And I started the Joanne Weaver group in late 2007, like right before that happened. And so I was working investment banker hours, man. Like I was getting up at 6 o'clock. No, not 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, which was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and working morning, noon, and night, weekends, everything. It was just, I was just like, it's darkest before the dawn. It's darkest before the dawn. And then it was just like, what's that?
It was pretty dark for a while there.
It was pretty dark. And I was really working hard and not making barely any money because there was no hiring. But then everything hit. And it's one of those things where it's like, depending on like how many years you've been in the market, like if you're getting into the market now for the first time, this actually might be a really awesome time to get in, because if you can get through this and you're learning really good skills on like how to network and how to apply for jobs, like you're really getting everything, like just you're learning at the highest level, because it is so tough that you can basically make it through any market, right? So it's like, I learned really good skills. I mean, I needed more balance in my life, which I've now gotten, but just knowing how to network and just keeping that constantly going, that was really good training for me to continue the business for as long as it's been going. So it's like learning how to drive stick, it's like, if you're at a standstill, getting to that first gear and going is tough, but like once you're going, all those other gears, they're easy.
Well, there's some sort of Australian American joke I could have made there, but I won't.
Can't drive stick at all.
Oh, good for you. What's our next question?
One question we wanted to ask was, this is just a fun one, but just maybe just to get you guys thinking in a kind of dreamy way. It's like, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, did you have like, one or two things you wanted to be when you were little, like something that was really...
Was it a designer, a creative?
Yeah. Was it always creative? Was it something different?
Yeah.
Astronaut.
I know you, Joanne, always aspired to be a design recruiter. That was kind of what you were thinking of.
Yeah. When I was 3 years old, I could have a little cigarette out of my mouth and just be like, all right, you want this job, honey? All right. Sell me the biscuit.
Show me. Yeah. I do love, I mean, look, I feel like at this point I've worked with so many designers that have come from so many different backgrounds. There's no like, I think there's many people that have transitioned into it later in life and been hugely successful as designers too. But yeah, it's always amazing to meet designers that have done it from the start. Oh, I love that. Disney Imagineer. Cool. That is a pretty cool job. Race car driver. My car's pretty slow, so I can't really do that. Designer from the get-go.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh. Astronaut. Wow. Are you a designer now?
Yeah, Monica. Great.
So
cool.
I love this mix.
Surgeon.
Oh, Kim, brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, now you're maybe designing.
I think there's like a lot of similarities there, right? Sort of. There's always like, at least in music and psychology and brain neurology with UX.
Mm-hmm.
Could see that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's like this big, left brain, right brain with sometimes your creatives with visual versus UX, things like that?
I feel like a lot of people that I rep on either the UX or the UI side tend to be very musical.
Yeah.
Like either they're like music producers or they play an instrument or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming from like that same logic side of the brain. It's like
Yeah.
music is very logical. It's like what my old producer used to say, music is what math does on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool, right? It's like
I mean,
keep it all together.
if you could call me musical, drumming is so mathematic and so,
Very.
it's all the time signatures and all the counting and all the divisions of notes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Big time. Cool. Great.
Oh, I love all that.
Architecture. Oh, my dad was an architect. I love architects. Very
I
cool.
spoke to an architect cum designer earlier this morning. So there you go.
Nice.
Another,
Yeah.
I see that transition quite a bit too in product design, in UX design. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Industrial design too.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
One of our other questions,
Okay.
and kind of off the back of some of this, then was side hustles, right? Do people have
Yeah.
side hustles or side activities outside of the design day to day? And I find that there's a ton of designers that do. I don't know how many monetize it, I guess, to make it truly a side hustle, but there's always this add-on skill that I feel like they have that's adjacent to their day-to-day product design. Photography, obviously pretty popular as well, whether or not they're, doing a side hustle, making income from it. But yeah, photography, music, everything like that as well.
Yeah, side hustle or passion project, I guess would be like another way of saying it too. Like,
Okay.
yeah. And I think that's so healthy too. Like, have you guys heard of this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she talks about taking yourself on an artist date once a week. So you go alone someplace, like be at a museum or wherever, like going to buy art supplies, and you take yourself on this artist date to fill your creative well. And I think designers and creative people really, I think that's so beneficial to the process of doing what you do for, your day job that you're getting paid for, is to get more perspective. Like the greats, like what did the great Dutch painters do back in the day? Or what did, there's just so many things to pull from that I think can inspire you in ways that maybe you wouldn't have expected. So just to open up the well.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been a couple of times that I've, especially been here in the city, I've had a really hard day on recruitment and just been like, feeling frustrated or feeling like pushed and just thinking, I can't really do much else today, that I'm just not feeling good. Or, you don't do your best work when you're not feeling amazing. And so I've just been like, hey, sorry team, I'm out for the afternoon. I've taken myself to photography, to Photographica, and bought a ticket, wandered up and down, sat in the loft, and just tapped out early and gone there for the afternoon. And it's like refilled the cup a little bit, or just, hey, it's all good. Just take a moment to process, to get away from this screen or from the work. Yeah, I think it's really, really important, really helpful.
Yeah. Word.
I love that.
Should we do one more?
We'll do one more, and then let's dive into sharing a few
Yeah.
tangible tips and whatnot.
Joanne, you
I
pick.
I think we were going to ask if people would be interested in doing like a live portfolio review. So if you could put your thoughts in the chat on that. So we've been playing around with the idea of maybe asking a few brave souls from this community. You'd be willing to put your portfolio up for us to just walk through, to basically get in the mind of a design recruiter, 3 design recruiters, so 3 for the price of 1, and getting, us talking through what we're seeing, some tips, some tricks, some critique, but in a nice way, things that we're liking about it as well, but as things that will, certainly benefit you, but I think could benefit the whole community, because everybody can learn something just from watching somebody else's portfolio be reviewed. And I know I personally find that really, really helpful when we're speaking with clients on Zoom calls and we're going over candidates that we've sent in for a role. If I can actually have them walk me through the portfolio and they're talking out loud as they're looking at things, I love that, because it's like I want to get in their brain. Like I want to know like what's doing it for them, what isn't doing it for them, like what's the right fit. Okay, if that's not the right fit, who do we need to go find that does have that?
Yeah.
So I think it could be really
I love
valuable.
these.
into it.
Yeah. These responses are very positive, which we like.
Yep. Okay.
Cool. Hector even shared his. You're ready to go, Hector.
Yeah. Here's the link. Fire it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
I would
Okay,
actually
I
have
think
to
it's
figure out how to do that, but we can.
Awesome.
There's so much to learn from some of that portfolio review. It's tricky because and I bet you've seen this, Joanne, right? Where whether they're a design leader or a head of product or whoever's doing that reviewing to make some of that decision, whether to interview that person or not, they come at it slightly different. They've all got a bit of a different way that they go about it. But I think through seeing that enough times over all the years, through all the different companies and all the different people we've worked with, you pull out all the similarities and you get to seal that. And it's not just, oh, here's my opinion, or here's the one opinion I have from the one time I saw someone look at a portfolio. It's, here's something that I've been working through and the repetition I've done of this through, a decade and hundreds of portfolios, and here's what we kept seeing and here's what keeps happening. So I really love to try and pull out these common enough themes that we can apply to everything. There's always going to be outliers in the way that certain people view a portfolio, but yeah, there's so much to gain from it. I love to see all these, sharing the links right now.
Yeah, I know. You guys are awesome. Thank
Make
you
it
for being
work.
so open and so generous with your sharing. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, to Matthew's point as well, this is a big part of it. Portfolio review, distinct session between IC and leadership portfolios. Yeah, that is, I think, a really key thing for any portfolio is to first understand what is your goal, like what role are you looking for? What are the types of jobs that you'd be applying for? Because that really informs like, well, what should we be taking away from this? If, you are brand designer, but you want to apply for product design roles, but the portfolio you have only shows brand, already you start to run into this slight disconnect. So same, a design leader, an IC, based on what you want to be viewed for and what you want to get hired for, is your portfolio reflecting that? And that's a big thing of trying to join that dot and then just fresh eyes on it, right? Sometimes it takes a stranger's eyes to look at it. I looked at someone's portfolio the other day with them and I just saw a few, even like very simple, minor, mistakes in some overlays and some things that they used when they were building some of the templates. And it feels really silly, but I was like, I've seen a design leader nitpick a portfolio based on something like that because of attention to detail.
Definitely.
And then feeling that if your portfolio is not at the detail, then what are you going to do for our product? And so to me, it's like failing an essay that you submit online through spelling mistakes. It's like, hey, that's the one thing truly in your control.
I know.
So,
the spelling mistakes thing is funny too, because I think people think we just look at the images, right? But people do read everything. So definitely read through everything that you have, throw it into Chat GPT to sort of edit, Microsoft Word, ask a friend, ask a non-design friend, ask your parents, like tell them to read line by line. I noticed a couple of typos this morning. So I've been going back to people directly, hey, you got to change this, hey, you have to add this. But we will do that for you guys.
It's true. Something that I've been seeing actually in a few portfolios this past week too. We're just we'll give you a little preview, so little tips and tricks, little portfolio tips and tricks. But that the work is really small, so it's hard to see on the screen. Erica and Jared, I'm sure you've seen this too, but there'll be like a portfolio, but then you'll have like 5 different screens across the width of my screen, but they're so small you can't actually see what's happening. And I constantly get asked by clients like, hey, this looks like it could be interesting, but we can't actually see it. So I would just make sure that what you're doing is readable, not only just from like, they can actually gauge what work you did, but also from an accessibility standpoint. You don't want to brand yourself as somebody who's not accessible compliant. And so you've got these people that, can't see what's going on. So just to maybe do 2 screens across the screen, 2 of your design screens across the screen that we're looking at, and maybe just make it a little longer. I don't think you can really over-index on visuals. Like I think most people over-index on words as opposed to visuals. So I tend to look for, is there a nice healthy balance between visuals? Is this person walking me through in layman's terms, like terms that I can understand, not being somebody on the project. I don't understand the tribal language of this industry or this particular project, for instance. So can you bring me along for the ride and walk me through, like kind of leaving little breadcrumbs, but then also showing me like the status of the work as you're going along in the portfolio, in the case study.
Yeah, big time. I mean,
The way you get.
a picture says 1,000 words, you know, and that is the same for when I see products and see images of products. If you're a product designer, for example, and if you're a brand designer to an extent, but when I see some of that image of a product, I immediately get a signal. You've worked on a dashboard, you've done some data visualization, you've had to distill a lot of data into a really ingestible format for someone. I got all of that from a screenshot of what you showed me of the product versus all the text underneath it trying to explain that that's what you were doing. They do work together, they go hand in hand, but you can tell your viewer things very fast through a picture. And when we're finding that everyone's very time poor, you get all these stories of recruiters, whoever it might be, giving a portfolio a 3.5 second look, whatever it might be. So if that's all you got, what do you get to communicate in those 3 seconds? And I guarantee some of that image is going to communicate more faster than what all the text might underneath it. So it's got to be that balance, but they can be really powerful. They can really guide the viewer a lot. And if it looks great and it looks in the realm of what they need, they stick around for a minute longer to read more of the text. If there's no image or it doesn't, it's too small, you can't see it, they don't stick around to read the text then either. So sometimes one comes before the other, and you can really give yourself a leg up, I think, by helping optimize a bit more of that.
Yeah. And I think, what people's roles are as UX designers / product designers is storytelling, right? So they're going to see your skills in storytelling. And Henny Farrow, you had sent in a comment pretty early in our chat about ageism in the industry. This isn't completely tackling that issue, but just one thing in terms of portfolio design. If somebody's been a designer for a really long time, first of all, fantastic. That means you're bringing a lot of skills to the table. I'd love to see people that have been doing it for a long time. What I find that sometimes what people might do that have been in the industry a long time is that they might put every single project they've ever worked on in their portfolio. I would really encourage people to edit your portfolio and just have your best of hits, right? Because the work, even if it was groundbreaking work in 2017, 2018, there's a good chance it's probably going to look dated now, and they don't want to, it might muddy the waters as far as like what you can do and what you can bring to the table now. So I would probably put those things outside of your portfolio. If you're going for a role that's really, really specific related to what you did back then maybe send it as an attachment, but I probably would try to keep your portfolio very, very streamlined. Probably, 3 to 4 case studies, I think is great. 2, I tend to see on more junior people's portfolios. I tend to like to see 3 to 4, but I think anything more than that starts to get a little oppressive in terms of just like, what am I supposed to look at? And just, as Jared said, we're all pretty time poor. So it's like, how can you sell it to us in the most efficient way? Because that's what clients want. They want you to make the complicated simplified. Like that's basically a lot of the times of what they're looking for. So how can you do that in your portfolio?
Yeah, I don't like to, and I never want to discount all those years of experience that people have, or especially if you transition from another career into that. None of that is discounted. It does matter. But the first signal usually comes from like, what are you showing to me first, or what's kind of been happening more recently in the last few years? And so not to discount that other stuff, but you've got to get some of that info first. And then the extended career becomes more and more bonus, I think, to an extent as well. But in these time poor days, just hook them in a little bit more. Just give them some of that recent stuff to grab onto first.
Yeah.
Definitely. They're really only going to look back 3 or 4 years, or maybe a little bit more than that. But both for resume and portfolio, I think you don't need to have everything there, like we've been saying. We're just going to look at the most recent stuff and see how relevant it is.
Yeah. Although I will
also, you can have it all on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some people, like, actually, there's a gal that I was repping last week who only had 2 roles on her resume, and it looked like she started in like 2018 or maybe even 2020. But then on her LinkedIn, she actually had a much richer background. She had much more work and maybe things that were outside of design, but they were all somewhat related. And I said, "Oh, why didn't you choose to put that on your resume?" And she's like, "Well, I want the bots to know that this is what I do and this is like my focus. I don't want to seem unfocused." So first of all, I think everybody's really afraid of bots. I think everybody should just be a little less afraid of bots. Like, yes, make sure your resume is not a single image file. Like, make sure it's scrapable, right? But short of that, as long as you're getting some keywords of what the role at hand is, I think you're probably pretty safe. I don't think the length of a resume is going to probably make that much difference. But for me, like, there was a gal I was repping years ago that used to be a teacher, and I wanted to put her forward for an ed tech role, and she had relevant product design experience, but she didn't put the teacher experience on there. And I said, "Well, why not?" She's like, "Well, it wasn't design." And I said, "Yes, but this client would love somebody that's been a teacher." And for us as
Like a
recruiters,
perfect fit.
what's that?
It's a great fit. Subject matter expert.
Total great fit. And there was a lot of former
use it.
teachers that worked at that company too, right? So, you know, what me and Erica and Jared do, and what most recruiters will do, is like, we're weaving the narrative of who you are. Like, we're finding that special secret sauce, that individual kernel that you are, and telling your story. And of course, you're telling your own story with the portfolio, but you helping us like find that through line and that narrative with all the rich experience that you have done is really important. So that's just me on my little soapbox about that, but I think it can be really helpful.
Big time. I want to take this question here from Paul, and I'd love to get your 2 takes on some of this too. What if the work is innovative, complex, had an impact but isn't sexy, like the concepts you see on Dribble that are beautiful but not real? How do you communicate that actual value and impact if the recruiter only has 5 seconds? I mean, with a real good elevator pitch, like for me, that can be a really powerful statement. Okay, I'm not, my eyes aren't just landing on a visual piece of work and going, "Oh no." Normally there is at least some sort of statement, and this is your hierarchy of text, the way you're presenting information, the way you're presenting some of these case studies. I think that you can really quickly give me an impactful statement of the difference that you made. Solving complex problems is so critical, and there's tons of software and issues and things like that out there. If you wrote me in a little bit with that impactful statement early on, then I'll want to keep reading a little bit more then too. Now I want to know a bit more. How did you change United Airlines' failed booking process, and increase it by 800%? Or I don't know, but there are many leading impactful statements I think that can get a viewer a little bit more exciting, even if it isn't the sexiest work. So I still think that there is a way there to rope your viewer in. What do you guys think in terms of some of that? If you have an opinion on that.
I think my first question is define sexy. Like, what might be sexy to somebody might be unsexy to somebody else. Like, we're working with, and actually we are going to talk about our jobs at the end of this session as well. So stay tuned for that. Yes. Forgot to mention that up at the front. But for instance, one of the things we're working on is for a B2B, like insurance and payroll company. So they want to see like dashboards and, like clean, elegant, nicely designed stuff. But this is like B2B, enterprisey, payroll and benefits kind of stuff. So I think a lot of people that think of like visual design and like Nike and Apple, yeah, probably not sexy to them. But if this is like B2B, internal tooling, it's complex, it's, it's delivered well, it's laid out well. And there's that, to Jared's point, like you're making that impactful statement and you're talking through your work in a really compelling way. That could be the sexiest thing ever for that particular company. That might be just what they're looking for. So I think Dribble, if I see Dribble, it's usually as like a secondary portfolio, I find, because there's no case studies. Like the stuff that I think all 3 of us are mostly working on is going to be product design. So they're going to want to see your process. They're going to want to see your strategy. They're going to want to see like, what did you do at every single step, or, most of the steps of the process? How did you get there? How did you leverage research? Like, how did you base your design decisions on data? So I think it doesn't really matter what the end output is. Is it this like really snazzy, visual UI, like mobile concept that's in Dribble, okay, that might be cool, but that's probably not going to be enough, at least for the things that I'm assuming that we're all working on, is not going to be enough to get the interview. I don't know if it's true for you guys, but that's true for us.
No, definitely.
I agree.
Yeah. I think there are many things that you can subtly do as a great complex problem solver in the way that you're simplifying something most of the time. These concepts, you're making it easier for a user to use, to navigate. Information architecture is obviously, usually a big part of that. But I kind of want to see that reflected in the way that you present information too. If you've solved a complex problem, but you've laid it out in this case study that has no hierarchy, no kind of flow, no, like, it just feels like a wall of text, I'm immediately like, how am I meant to ingest this? As a UX designer, you are solving things to make ideally a really ingestible experience for the user. Your portfolio is no different. How are you achieving the goal of making this information ingestible for the viewer? So I do look for some of those signals, and that's not sexiness in any way, but there is a simplicity and a cleanliness and a kind of hierarchy to it that I think are UX principles. So yeah, I want to see elements of that too. And that obviously helps me take it in a lot easier. The same way, who's reading all the terms and conditions to stuff? It's just a big wall of text, pretty hard. Some brands do it better than others. So I think that's a little something to keep in mind with that too.
Word.
Well,
great questions too.
We have a cool question from Christopher. I guess we could quickly go on this. We're probably very different, but the age-old question: how long is too long, not long enough, or just right for a case study? I think for me,
big exhale.
What's that?
Big exhale.
Erica was like, before she started.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it really depends, right? Like, if this is a case study that you also might be using in an interview, right? And you let most of these interviews, these portfolio reviews with a panel or a hiring manager, usually 30 minutes long, maybe including Q&A, or maybe 30 minutes plus Q&A, or whatever. So if this is something that you're putting in your portfolio, or even just in a deck that you're sending to recruiters, etc., I think that it can be longer, maybe about 15 minutes to get through, but like, that is you timing yourself, testing it in front of an audience, a different audience. Again, non-design people who don't understand what you're doing, because if you're sending this to a recruiter, you don't know recruiter and what their background is reviewing design portfolios. It has to be easy and simple, and like almost a little fun, kind of. I was reading one yesterday that was really cool. It kept sort of, every time you clicked, as we were scrolling down, it added like, internal people and like their what they thought of what this person had done. Cool. And just, it was really interesting. They had applied to a role at their company, and then they came in, they were hired eventually by that company, and their task was to fix the application process, because first they had been rejected, and then they also were moved forward in another instance. So it's very chaotic. And that person fixed it. So that case study that this person made has been shared now widely at this very large company. And it's kind of used as like a rubric for everyone to sort of realize, okay, wow, this was broken. But I found that really interesting, and it took me probably 15 minutes to really read through it, because it's very engaging. I think if it's just, like we're saying, a lot of text and like 1 or 2 or 3 images, and there's no wireframes, there's no sketches, there's no user flows, I'm probably not going to read that. It's not engaging to me, and the text is really small. That's how I feel. But then I've seen others that are like really, really long, lots of images, and like very minimal, so you know what's going on. So, it's really just kind of I think a good long should probably be about 15-ish minutes.
That's so interesting. You're going to talk to 3 different recruiters and get 3 different opinions. So
Totally.
this is great, right? Like, we're all just giving our different our viewpoints on this. So that's so interesting. I would say for me, I'm probably taking about 10 seconds to look
Yeah.
So and don't feel bad. It's not work that's wasted. I mean, so basically our role is to figure out, are you going to be a good match for our client? And should we get on the phone with you?
Yeah.
Talk through this stuff more in depth with you. So this is just like my initial take, right? Like, does this feel like it's going to be a match for the client? Some of that is just intuitive. Like, we've been doing this a long time, so we just kind of know what's going to work or not work for a certain client. It's a little hard to quantify sometimes. But I would say, like, good rule of thumb is I love a case study that starts with a hero image of what the final product was, even if you weren't the one doing the visual on it. I want to see, like, what are we working backwards from? So reverse engineering, like, what is this thing? Just to orient me in space, right? Like, what is this thing that you worked on? Be it B2C or B2B, whatever it is. And then I tend to like to see kind of an equal mix of visuals and text. Describing what each thing is, of course, making the visuals big enough to see, as we talked about before. I would say, and this is a very generalization, so it's kind of hard to say, but I think if I see a case study that's just like 2 images and a little bit of supporting information, that feels pretty short, doesn't really seem like you're getting in enough and like digging in. I think if there's, maybe, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 images and supporting documentation around it or a description of what's going on, that feels like it could be the sweet spot. Of course, it's going to be really different for each project that you work on. But I'd say if it's too long, then you're branding yourself as somebody that cannot make the complex simple. And that's, I think, something to also keep in mind, is that you're really kind of like, I feel like the portfolio is in some ways you're dropping the handkerchief to get invited to have that round 1. You're not saying every single granular thing that you worked on and every single detail of research, for instance, that you found, but it's really enough to like spark interest, get the conversation going. And then to Erica's point, like when you're actually presenting your portfolio, you can take the time to walk through these things and explain each thing, which might be 15 minutes. It might be, it might be 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have. But those are just some kind of general high level thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good sentiment, I think, to take away to some of that is the portfolio gets you in the room, and that's the goal of it. That's like the threshold you need to satisfy, but it doesn't actually get you the job necessarily.
Yeah.
But when you're sort of coming out and trying to present, War and Peace, I think, to get the job, it's like, well, back it up. Like, just get yourself in the room to tell them the rest, to get yourself the job, because that's really where it shifts. But yeah, the threshold to get in the room, I think it needs to be more succinct. I think, Erica, you stuck around on that portfolio reading that because you were engaged. You got curious and you got engaged. I think that maybe if that person didn't have some of those interactions involved and things like that, you might have dropped off a lot sooner. So
totally,
ways, maybe a lesson on just, you can engage your viewer too. The same way if I'm doing an onboarding flow, man, if it's going to take me 15 minutes to do it, like, could do with some encouragement along the way. If I don't have that, then, it's really hard to get through. So, midnight.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
No.
Saying hello.
It adds to the festiveness.
Yeah. I think he's agreeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interviews, portfolios.
He smells my groceries have been delivered. I was going to say what engaged me on this particular profile was that there was also a bit of humor in the way that they were writing. I love to
human to human.
If you can make me laugh. The other day, someone emailed me. They called me a completely different name. I didn't even see it because I went straight for the portfolio link. And then they responded to themselves telling me they called me the wrong name, which made me laugh, actually. And I was like, you know what, let's chat. So I like to laugh. But sometimes it's hard, if you're working in a financial project, maybe, like, I don't know how to make that funny, but like you can make it, you can bring it down, like Joanne said, like layman terms. Like sometimes I put stuff into ChatGPT, I totally don't get it. And I'm like, explain this to me like a 5-year-old. It is probably my best hack because it works every single time. So you can kind of work with these different tools to help you explain things a little bit more specifically.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a style.
I want to comment on this real quick too. I totally hear your point, Matthew, on 3 recruiters, 3 different opinions, and that sort of being the challenge, and especially across hiring managers. But within those 3 opinions is very much a commonality and very common themes between all of those, which extend beyond Erica reading something longer, Joanne taking in something shorter. The commonality or the common themes to look under that is still that ability to engage, the ability to communicate something effectively. And whether it captures someone's attention in 10 seconds or 15 minutes, it's still the ability to capture that attention and speak to what you've done and broadcast an accurate signal of who you are and what you do. So I think I totally hear you in that. Yeah, all these different opinions, people look at things differently, but there are many, many, many common traits and common ways that things are assessed that you can account for. You can't account for all of them. I totally agree. But it's the exact same with your products that you've designed. You can't design a product that caters to every single user on the planet, but you can cater to the audience that you need to cater to, and you can design for them. And I think trying to get as close to that as possible, get as close to that mark, really amplifies your chance of getting in the rooms that you want to get into as well. So you're speaking to the audience that you want to understand, and there'll be audiences that don't understand, and maybe they don't need to because they're not the audience you need to speak to. So yeah, I hear you, but there is a lot of commonality in there that will help you be guided on what to put in there and help you understand how to have those conversations. When we look at things too, I think that recruiters, and this maybe speaks a little bit to Sandeep's point, I think that recruiters, when they're working on some of this stuff, they're operating more so through the lens of the person they're hiring for. So I don't look at every portfolio exactly the same in my way. I look at them slightly adjusted ways based on who I'm hiring from, based on how I know that they're going to look at something. And I try to tweak my lens knowing like, this works for this hiring manager. I need to get this from this person. And I think, Joanne, you'll be able to speak to this too, in that there are many designers that we probably meet along the way that we're like, you're great and you would actually probably be a fit for this role. But the way that you're presenting some of your work is not going to capture the attention of this hiring manager, because I know they're a little specific and a little unique. If you could rejig some of how you're presenting this, rejig or relay out, reformat, you're saying all enough of the right things, but let's just tweak it a little to suit that person. I think we got a better chance of getting you in that room as well.
Yeah.
People speak common languages. People speak about design in common ways as well. And when you can kind of match that or join those dots, it can really give you a leg up. And so sometimes us as recruiters have to be the extension of that hiring manager, and we adjust our lens based on what we need to do for that person that we're working for as well.
Right.
So,
yes. Well said. Well said, Jared. Yes, I completely agree. And also, we're looking through the eyes of the hiring manager, and that could be different for different roles, right? So we just placed a senior product designer that was a little bit more UX leaning at a company, same VP of design, but he was looking for somebody that might have, XYZ in the portfolio, but now he's looking for a lead product designer who's very visual focused, visual UI. So he's looking for different things in that portfolio. He's going to be looking for just a really high attention to detail and visual. And one of the things that he told us is he wants to see consistency in every single case study. He wants, the titles to look the same. He wants the format to look the same. He wants to see a common design language through it, because that's the job, right? Like that's a visual UI leaning role that particular designer is going to take. So even he's going to be having a slightly different lens through which he's looking to make that decision on the lead versus the senior, which was a different profile.
Yeah.
Right.
They each come with their nuance, and they each come with the way that they try and find them as well. Awesome. Lots of good questions that have flown through. I know we wanted to take some time as well to talk about some roles that we are hiring for as well, and let people know things that are out there, things that are open, maybe things that we're seeing around some of that. But before I jump to that, anything else that we want to cover and share and go over? Erica.
Yeah. Erica, did you want to say something?
I don't know. Sorry. I'm a little flustered.
Okay. I'll jump in while
Go ahead.
of something. I just want to bring up Dave
Adjusting.
Hoffer. Dave Hoffer says, "Hey, new friends. Hey, Dave." So
Hey,
Dave Hoffer,
Dave.
hey. Dave
Hi.
Hoffer is going to be joining us on August 21st.
I believe so, yes.
I believe, yes, Wednesday, August 21st, so 1 o'clock Eastern. He's a wonderful design leader who I recently met through a good friend. And he's been at PwC, he's been at Frog, he's been at all these like really, really wonderful places, startups as well. McKinsey, he was there for over 5 years. So just a really, really powerful design leader, but also just such a mensch. Like Dave, I feel like I've known you for like 20 years. I'm really excited for you to come and join us in a month or so, because he's going to be sharing things about, designers and the headspace and optimism versus pessimism and all of those things. So I think things will be really just impactful and community building for everyone. So yay, Dave. Hello.
Thank you, Dave.
Yay.
Yes.
We're excited.
We have some great guests coming up, and obviously Dave is one of them. So please keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on our personal posts, I guess, because we do always share this and try to announce who our guests are going to be, everything like that. So yeah, always want to give you good heads up. We do record these and we post them later as well. So if you can't make it live, you obviously can watch it later. Watching live obviously allows you to ask questions and get them answered too. It's a bit hard for us to do that after the fact. So yeah, bonuses for both. If you can't make it, it's okay. We still got you. But if you can and you got a question, I want to get that seen. Oh, fellow Aussie. All right. Sorry, I got distracted.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Did I say it right? G'day, Nicholas.
Oh no.
Terrible.
A little bit.
Okay.
Hi, Nick. I spoke to him yesterday. He's great.
Oh,
Awesome.
hey.
How would you guys like to wrap up?
I tried. Should we put a little new jobs listing up here? We want to talk about some jobs.
Okay. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Great.
For sure, do that.
Did my thing? Oh, here we go. Okay. Great. Does anybody want to kick it off?
Yeah, I got one real quick.
You go.
Okay.
You go.
This one's kind of wild. It's out there. It's a tough one. But it's kind of fun. Brand new stealth startup looking for their founding head of design, which is pretty interesting. It is predominantly going to be West Coast based. It's going to be more of a B2B kind of tool in that stack. The founders have insane backgrounds, very, very high level, very like big names in this kind of particular B2B sector that they play in. They've kind of left these respective companies and come together to found this group, and now they need that founding head of design. So it's obviously very hands-on when you come in early stage, but the ability to scale, I think, as a designer and kind of grow into being the leader again will be part of it. I think what this potentially suits for designers and a theme I've been seeing with some of the people I've spoken to, you've been a head of design, you've been a design manager, you maybe started feeling like you got too far away from the craft, you wanted to come back closer to the craft, to the tools, you moved into maybe more of a principal role again to balance that out. Maybe you've gotten a bit tired of working in some larger orgs with more red tape, politics, these sorts of things. And you're looking for just that blank slate again, where you get to carve something in your own vision. That I think is the person that this would appeal to. So just ping me, drop me a note if you're into that sort of stuff. I'll leave it at that. It's a tough one. It's not for everyone, but it will be fun for whoever does do it.
I love those sorts of searches, like that entrepreneurial, like I'm going to build this thing and set process and chart the course for design.
It's a lot.
You're right. Not everybody can do that, but the ones that can, it's a really special profile. And I love working with people like that. That's so
they
cool.
tend to thrive on it maybe, and maybe you can't always do all of that in a slightly more advanced org or a slightly more established org. So yeah, this might be a chance for that.
Cool.
Love
that.
Over to one of you guys.
I'm working on a couple of contracts, which I typically post on my LinkedIn page. Right now, the focus is finding a native app mobile person with experience in design systems, kind of slotting into an existing one and designing for any gaps that they see, but not really redesigning like from ground up. So it's in the healthcare sector, fully remote. Ideally working like East or Central time zone is okay. It's 12 weeks long. So definitely would be looking for someone with design systems with great like native mobile app experience. Anyone who doesn't have to be healthcare, but understanding, of course, like the language, the different terminologies, the regulations, right, of these areas would be really helpful, I think, but can be learned.
Nice.
And this is really someone like 5+ years of experience. I would say probably 5 to 10, it's a big range. But if the mobile thing is really important.
Confident and capable with native mobile. Yep. It's a nuance. Yeah. It's definitely a requirement you see from a few companies, but if you love that stuff, it's fun to work on, definitely.
Yeah. And ideally you're available ASAP. If you have a vacation planned, please let me know, but otherwise all good.
Awesome. I'm going to post a bunch of things in the chat.
Okay.
We're actually working on a lot of things right now. I'm going to talk about the one that's on top. I don't know if that's came through. Oh, it's coming through in multiple posts. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's just too much. It broke the system.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one is it's NYC based. They will reload. But it's for a mid-level product designer, and it's for an established, well-known Series E pre-IPO startup in the health benefits and payroll space. So B2B. B2B can be sexy, folks. It can be very sexy. They're helping SMBs. So if you've worked at a tech company before or a startup, chances are you probably have used their product. They're looking for somebody who's wrangled a lot of content. You probably have come from a similar sort of B2B background, maybe even ed tech, because you might have wrangled a lot of content. They'd love some service design skills. You'd be working on the highest visibility project at the company, which is merging 2 major products into one. And the VP of design is somebody that we've worked a ton with. We placed 27 people with him in his last role at a well-known point of sale fintech company. So that's great. It's going up to $156K plus options. And as the company is so late stage, options could actually be kind of something yummy and juicy. And then we're also looking for, this one's brand new, hot off the presses. It's a principal, it's a principal UX designer at a well-known luxury. Oh, can I show it? There we go. There we go. Well-known luxury goods marketplace. Again, we had the VP of design go really far back. We don't even have a job description written, so just email me at Joanne at Joanne Weaver Group. Goes up to $200K. It's also hybrid on-site in New York. And then we're also looking for, and I think I mentioned this earlier in our chat, a lead product designer who's very visual UI focused for a hyper-growth company that's helping dogs. So if you love dogs and you want to be around an office that has tons of dogs and dog desk beds under lots of desks, it's fantastic. It's up to $205K, again, hybrid on site, very B2C. And then we're also, this is the last thing, this is more of like a referral thing. So if you guys know senior or staff software engineers, this one's full remote in the US for a seed stage company that helps SMBs in the dental space. So they're doing AI powered software in the dental space. So we're looking for someone who's mostly back end, but can do front end as well. And if you can share a good profile with us or good profiles, and we place them long term, then we give you up to $1,000 referral bonus. And I'm going to put my email up there as well. So this is how you can apply.
Sorry.
Are we boop, 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 boop. Yeah. So anyway, would really appreciate referrals on those. So if you guys know software engineers, let us know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, lots of great opportunities out there for designers right now. Very good. Shall we wrap it up? I think we're at time anyway.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
It's great
as
to
always.
Give us some feedback. Let us know.
Love it.
Anything. And
We
we'll
have some
see you guys,
guests
I guess.
coming up that we're going to book, that we'll announce. Each of those guests, we love to get people involved that I think bring a unique perspective or insight or something there. So, it gives you an opportunity to ask more specific questions maybe, or things that you're a bit more curious on. Those guests can hopefully help with some of that as well. Definitely love to bring, designers on here that just have a lot of that insight to share. So,
Yeah, lovely session, everybody. So nice to see everyone, and thanks for tuning in from all over.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to see you again in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 2 Wednesdays. I think we have a guest coming. So, yeah.
Should do.
And then end of summer.
Woo. Yeah.
All right.
Cool, guys. All right.
Everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.